it was like seeing a father's disappointment looking at his son. I'll never forget the look that Chris gave me, like,
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. You're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our own experiences into the world of gambling and share stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a recreational gambler, a seasoned pro, or just curious what the buzz is all about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 38 of the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you will never lose, with your hosts, Chris the Dice Degen and Craig from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how are we today?
We're frustrated, dude. If there could be something stronger than what I'm going to tell you is in here, I wish it was in here. Nope, it's still the same shitty drink.
Still the same shitty drink. How's the hand doing since our last episode?
The hand is almost healed. It looks like there may be some minimal scarring, but it kind of looks like that peeling stage.
Do we have
that you
any
get when
movement on the taking it to McDonald's?
No, I might take it to the streets. I might
There you
go
go.
grab a McDonald's employee and just beat shit out of him. I don't know. I'm still debating. Still debating.
I mean, that just seems like it's going to get you in trouble. And
Look, if I see
I
an
don't know.
employee riding their bike to McDonald's for work, I might just hit him with the car. I don't know.
Oh my God. Folks at home, that's how you want to handle your problems. You didn't take advice from the FOC crew. We didn't endorse you to do that. Craig
We
can do what he
don't
wants.
condone violence.
We don't condone violence. Oh my God. Definitely. You know, here's the problem, right? You already know somebody's in the car right now listening to this, and there's somebody riding a bike right next to them, and they're like, they just told me to hit this
10
person.
point. Look, sometimes I'm driving and I see people on the side of the road and I'm like, that's 10 points, 25 points, 25 points if I hit them. Bing, bing. But no, it's all up here. I keep it up here.
Yeah. See, I do that with drivers. Like,
Yeah.
people who drive like shit, like, that's what 10 points if I can get you off the road completely.
Right.
Like, get out of
Like,
my
sorry.
way. Move.
Like, sorry, but my lane is not your lane, okay?
Exactly.
All right? Even
The
though the
lane
law
for you-
says that your lane is my lane. No, it's not.
No,
Mine fits
no.
a car. Yours is over there at a shoulder that's much more narrow.
No, their lane is in the parking lot. They should have never left. You should have
They
never
should have
left.
found a
You stayed
trail.
in the parking lot.
Just, you want to ride your bike, go to a trail. Don't go in
You know
front
what?
of me on the highway.
I was watching something once. I don't know what it was. Might have been a show, might have been a movie. But like, this guy had an iPad and he could like control the traffic by just like moving cars out of the way. Like,
Nice.
that's what I need when I'm on the road. I can just move cars out of my way.
Yeah, just change the traffic lights. Oh, there you go.
Yes. Yeah, changing traffic. Oh man. Driving.
How you been?
Good. This week, even though for the folks at home who are hearing this, it's not this week for you, but it's for us. It's Masters Week. So it's like a national holiday for the two of us.
That's why I'm wearing my Masters collared shirt.
There you go. There you go. Looking all professional for the podcast. Then there's me with a hat and a hoodie because that's what I wear 99% of the time. It's
Is
so
that a
funny.
heart-shaped U.S. flag on your chest?
It's not a heart, but it is a U.S. flag.
Love it.
It is a U.S. flag. I got one on. Oh, not that shoulder. On this shoulder.
There
too.
you go. There you go.
Oh yeah, we got the flags. What's it called? No, it's funny because I have a corporate job, right? So when I go to the office, I'm in like basically a suit every time. And then for me to get dressed up, it doesn't really happen. Like, I want to be wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt at all times.
I hear you. Working remotely, I'm not one that like does it. OBC doesn't wear pajamas, but I will be in sweats and a hoodie until I have to be on camera, and then we'll make the top half look pretty.
There you go. You know how I got around the dress code? Lovely hack for the folks at home. So I looked at the company dress code, right? You're like, guys are supposed to wear button down collared shirts. That's like the everyday. And then you're supposed to have like a blazer or sport coat in case like meetings, whatever. I don't really care. Um, if you wear company branded apparel, you don't have to do that. So DGen pulls up dress shoes, dress pants, t-shirt, sweatshirt from the company logo.
There you go. There.
That's how we
Hey,
do it.
if you can bypass it by using their own rules, you've
Yes,
won.
exactly. That's what I viewed it as, a complete win for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, hopefully, I don't have a meeting when I go in because that hoodie's not coming off because I literally have a t-shirt underneath of it.
Right. But you tell them it's a company T-shirt.
Of course, of course. Now I have pulled the I don't know if you've seen it. A lot of these like sports anchors have been doing it recently where they wear the blazer on top of a sweatshirt. Now, usually it's like a nice like knit sweatshirt. No, I got like a freaking Under Armour sweatshirt from work. But I have thrown a blazer on top of that before. It wasn't a terrible look. It wasn't a good look, but it wasn't a terrible look. But guess what?
Yeah.
I was comfortable.
I think the only time I've actually seen that may have been a Masters where the temperatures were low. So they had the sweatshirt on over top of the button down, and then they
Yep.
put the blazer on. But I don't know because I know, uh, was it Butler Cabin is pretty warm. So,
Oh yeah.
it's probably just the just collared shirt and the green jacket. But
You know what, Craig? I failed. I failed us today. I really did. Well, I failed myself at least anyway.
no, say it ain't so.
We always have beverages on this, and since it's Masters Week, I should have myself a damn azalea in front of me, but I don't.
For those at home, what is an azalea
That's a great
besides a
question.
flower?
It's a great question. Give me 1 minute.
One eternity later.
All right. The azalea is vodka, lemonade, and grenadine.
There you go.
It's nice, like little pink color. You could probably put gin in it too, but I don't really mess with gin. I don't like gin. I've said it on episodes before. I don't do gin, but yeah, if I plan, I have vodka at home. I do have grenadine. I do not have lemonade in the house. It's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a fan of vodka. Not a fan of it.
No, no.
No.
What are you a fan of, Craig? What are you drinking right now?
Well, first, I'm a fan of the whiskeys, the bourbons, the scotches. That's what I'm a fan of. I'm embarrassed to even say what's in here, but I wasn't in the mood for the Tennessee honey whiskey, which I still have. I need to go out and get some Crown. But for the show, in the nice, cool looking whiskey mug, I've got amaretto tonight, which is the silly simple sauce with caffeine free Coke.
There
So,
you go.
cheers.
Cheers to you. I have a tried but true staple. I have Makers and Diet, of course, in the camera's over here, full of chips glass. Shout out Lou, as per usual.
Thank you, sweet Lou.
But yeah, if I was prepared, I would have had myself an azalea, but I wasn't really thinking. Because now that I'm thinking, I should have that in front of me right now. What a missed
Well,
opportunity.
we're a month away from the Derby. Maybe you could have a mint
Ah.
julep on the show.
Oh, I can't wait for the Derby, let me tell you. The research has already started on the ponies.
You were telling me that. That's not something I've ever bet on before. But again, all of this non-craps blackjack stuff is new to me. So I've only been sports betting for, 3 months?
Yeah. Well, I can already see you now texting me. What are we betting on for the Derby?
Yeah. I mean, we did the same thing with the Winter Olympics, so why not?
Right? Why not? We'll see. But no, I'm excited for the ponies. But you know what I'm also excited for, Craig? I'm excited for our topics today. I think we got two bangers on the planned discussion. Now, we always have a planned discussion. Does it always happen? No. Sometimes
No.
sometimes it doesn't happen. And you folks at home would never know unless we told you. But
Well, we did tell them. We we told them in episode 29 that we weren't getting to the topics. These today
Yes.
are the topics that we weren't going to get to.
There you go. There you go. We held them for 9 full episodes. Can you believe that? Because we just had
Let
so
me
much
ask you,
other shit
'cause
to talk about.
Let me ask you, because you're younger than me, did you recognize the title?
I did, and I wanted to make a Bob the Builder reference in the beginning
There you go.
of the show. And for the folks at home, since yes, I am young, but I used to love Bob the Builder. I was Bob the Builder for Halloween like 2 years in a row.
Wow.
I carried around my little like toy hammer and I would bang it on things. And my mom would be like, stop banging it on my walls before you actually have to fix my walls.
So to put it in perspective, in 2002, my in-laws did a baby shower for our son who was due in October that year, and they did a Bob the Builder pregnancy combo cake, construction cake, all that stuff together because they knew it was going to be a boy. So all the Bob the Builder stuff came out. So can we build it? Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And Craig, what are we building today?
Well, today we're going to start off by letting everybody know that every gambler walks into a casino with a dream, right? But a disciplined gambler walks in with a toolkit. And today we're talking about it's time to create your disciplined gambler's toolkit. And we're going to tell you what you need.
We're going to tell you. If you're going to have a tool kit, tool belt, whatever it may be, right, for a specific job, it has to be for that job, right? You can't show up to do electrical work with plumbing tools. Well, I guess you could, but the electrical work probably won't go too well.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Especially mixing water with wires. They don't go together.
No, that doesn't go too well. But when you are gambling, you need a little toolkit, right? Now, might not be a physical thing you actually bring with you, right? It could be. Could be a little physical thing you bring with you.
It could be.
Right? Now, we're not telling you like wear a tool belt to the casino because that would just be a little strange. But
that would be weird. Like if you had chips on one side, you had a pack of dice on the other, and a playing cards up front. Like you were ready. You were ready
to go. Ready to go. No, but so imagine somebody showing up like with like just a whole tool belt on, and they got a little hammer in there, and a little couple other things, but then they got some.
The change thing that they have like at carnivals. Like they would, that's how they would give their money to the dealer. They'd be like, ching, ching, ching. Here you go. Buy in. Can I buy in for this?
Right. Oh, it'd be hilarious. No, but this is like let's say a virtual sort of toolkit. Could be notes and stuff that you could bring as like a physical item. But Craig, for me, number one item in the toolkit, you know what it is?
I'm gonna guess that it's probably before you even walk through the door.
Yeah. Yep. It should be before you walk through the doors. If you don't have it through the doors, make sure you do it before you actually buy into said table. But some sort of bankroll management system. That is like the main tool you need in this toolkit, in my opinion, right? You need to have some sort of foundational piece, right? Which to me would be your bankroll management. It's clear amount of money, right? You have units or a sizing allocated for different sessions. You have your limits of loss, your win limits, your win goals, all that kind of stuff. But you have basically your game plan of how much money am I going to spend? How much money am I going to win? How much money am I willing to lose? All that kind of stuff. You have your bankroll management system.
You need a clear mission. You have to realize you're not here to see what happens.
Yep.
You're not here to see what happens at the table. I'll just go and see what happens. Well, you're going to lose your buy-in. Okay. Every time you're there to execute a plan. Okay. We've talked about plans going to the casino. You have to build into your plan how to protect your bankroll, what your bankroll is, and what disciplined decisions are you going to make to execute your plan. Now, yes, playing craps and playing any casino table game, there are going to be decisions that you may have to make on the fly based on the outcome. But you should generally have one or two decisions ready to go. If I were to stop, if somebody were to roll the dice, Chris, let's say you roll the dice and I stopped you before you could hear out what it was, I'm going to ask you two questions. What's your next move? And are you willing to be okay with the decision?
Yep.
You have to have that in mind when you start. So like you said, your bankroll, what's your proper bankroll? What are you bankrolling for? Are you bankrolling for a trip? Are you bankrolling for a single night session? You have to make those decisions. Now, what you said kind of goes right into my second part, which is your unit size. That's the foundation of every disciplined gambler. A number that controls your bets and your emotions and your session length. How long are you going to be there? How long do you plan on being there? Are you You know, a lot of times, we've talked about, are you there for an hour? Are you there for the day? Do you know if you're going to be playing 3 sessions? Are you planning a trip? You're going to be there for 3 days. How many sessions in those 3 days? What is your purpose for going? And are you already deciding what your unit size is going to be? We're not saying your unit size can't change from session to session. It can. It can also change depending on what game you're going there to play. But you have to kind of know your unit size of what you want to do, because that's going to make your decisions on bet progressions easier to think about on the fly, especially when you're at a table with fast dealers.
Yep, I agree 100%. That kind of goes with my number two, right? This one might be your number three or something like that. But to me, it kind of goes right hand in hand with it, which is your core way of playing, right? Your units have to be adaptable to the way that you're going to play, right? Same thing with your bankroll, has to be adaptable to the way you are going to play. It has to be set up for a certain either strategy you're going to play. I hate using the word strategy. I prefer, maybe a core principle or something that you're going to follow, right? If you're going to go inside, you're going to bet two numbers. I don't care what it's going to be, but you have to make sure that your units correspond to that, right? You can't tell me that you're going to come to the casino with $200 and go 110 inside. If you're going to make a play like that, you need to be properly funded, right? That goes right back to number one. That's why the bankroll piece of things is so important, because if you have a specific way that you're going to play, your bankroll needs to allow you to play that way. Or else, like Craig said, you're going to set yourself up for what? Failure.
You're right. You're talking about guardrails. You're talking about deciding your preset win/loss limits and deciding before you even buy in. You certainly don't want to decide these or make these decisions after you've already started tilting. Like,
Yep.
you don't you don't want to be going through 3 PSOs or 2 PS, even 3 PSOs at the craps table and not know what you're going to do next. I think we get caught up too many times in situations like that with multiple PSOs where we really just, for whatever reason, we don't stop playing. And I still come to that thing of we're trying to bet on hope, and you really shouldn't do that. Like, even though that we're at multipliers with AC crew and we're with people we know that can shoot, all we know is that we have to endure whatever until they are able to shoot and the shoot goes well, right? But I don't think we stop ourselves enough, even the last trip to AC. I don't think we stop ourselves enough when things are going south.
No, you definitely need those kind of triggers that will stop you from playing, right? And that's another thing that I would have in that toolkit is like time management rules almost, where you know maybe how long you're going to be playing for, right? You set almost predefined sessions. Now, it's hard to like actually stick to it, right? You're not going to say, I'm going to play for 37 and a half minutes, right? You're not like, no one's going to do that. Why? Well, if you could stop your session on 37 and a half minutes, I mean, good for you, I guess. But like, you have to have a certain amount of, let's say, maybe shooters, or you want to play for an hour, or it's not going to be a hard and fast rule though, because, you might be playing for an hour and with 15 minutes left of that hour, shooter goes on, a 30-minute roll. Well, now you're over that hour, but they were on a 30-minute roll, right? So it's a little different, but you have to have sort of predefined timings, right? Where, okay, I don't really want to play for more than X unless, you're doing really well, you're on a good roll, and then you want to keep going. But at that point, you should also be considering, well, I'm up and I should probably maybe take a break and walk away for a little bit, lock up the profits that I have currently, right? Because what happens when you get in that groove of, oh, well, I'm just going to keep staying at the table because it's going well and all this kind of stuff. Or even if it's going bad, it's going to turn. It's going to turn. It's going to turn. Either way, that turns into just a long session, marathon type session. And that leads to bad decisions more often than not. Why? Because you're tired when you're at the table, right? And people will be like, well, I've only been at the table for a few hours. I'm not really that tired. You might not think you are, but your decision making is fatigued at that point, right? Because you've been just going through motions left and right, and you may not be making the best decision. Sometimes that's why you need that reset. You need to go grab some food or take a break, take a walk, do something other than just sit at that table for hours on end.
100%, because you know, one of the sessions we were in AC in just a couple of weeks ago, because we just came back from the AC trip a couple of weeks ago. And I know that there was a session that I was on, and for whatever reason, I like felt myself like doing this. Like, I think I'm tired, but it wasn't triggering me to stop playing. Like, because if you're tired, literally, we saw some people literally sleeping on the rail. Like, if you're tired, you should not be playing, because you are not able to make those decisions at a moment's notice. Because playing tired, you're gonna play slow, and that's no good space to be.
Yep.
You got to have a game plan at the table too. Whether you're playing craps or blackjack or slots. Not that you'll see DGen and OBC at slots ever, because we abhor slots. But you got to have a plan. If it's craps, what's your pressing plan? What's your bet progression plan? Do you have a moment when you know you're going to regress? What are you going to play? Are you playing a 3-point molly? Are you playing a 3-point dolly? Are you just playing pass line max odds? Know that before you go. Don't just make the decision on the fly, because I guarantee if you make the decisions like that on the fly, like, oh, well, maybe I'll just play pass line and maybe I'll do some max odds and might grab a 4 and a 9. Like, that's not a plan. That's just guessing of things that you hope to happen, and you cannot gamble that way.
Nope.
You got to have a plan. But one of the things that you've brought up before in a previous podcast episode is something I want to get into a little bit, which is when you're building that disciplined gambler's toolkit, should it include a session log? And we're going to get to, post playing breakdown a little bit later. But right now, I'm talking about the session log that you keep while you're playing. Like, are you writing down the rolls? Are you writing down what your buy-in was, where you are? Every few rolls, you're checking your bankroll, because you're trying to have good bankroll management. You have to know where you want yourself to be in the session, and when you're going to pivot. What's going to be the trigger to have you pivot? And I don't think you can do that if you're not have some kind of session log. Now, more people are using like their phones. Obviously, you can't have your phone at the rail. You can step back 2 to 3 feet. They'll allow you to have a phone. A lot of people I use my watch. Uh, you can use it as a counter. You can use it if you're shooting. I'll use the calculator on it while I'm in a session, because they don't care if you're just using your. I've never had any dealer or pit boss tell me to stop with my watch. In fact, I've even answered a text with my watch at a table and not been told I got to step back 2 to 3 feet. Obviously, if you have a phone, they're always telling you can't be at the table to use it. You have to step away. But some people are using their phones to track their log, track their session on a log, and where they are, what the rolls are. We know Justice Jen, who tracks every single roll of every single shooter, every single session. She's very disciplined that way. But she jots it down, and if you want to go up to her afterward and say, "What did I roll there? Blah blah blah. How many rolls?" She'll tell you.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, right, I use my phone, right? It's in front of me. It's all the time next to me, on my pocket, on my person, in my pocket, whatever it may be, right? And now I don't track rolls necessarily because I really don't care that much. I know some people like to do it. I've done it in the past. I don't find it to be that useful for myself. But again, it's a personal preference, right? This is, your toolkit. You do with your toolkit what you want, right? If you want to track every individual roll, go for it, right? For me, I'm tracking the session itself. So I'm looking at what was my buy-in, what did I color up for, how long did I play? And then I also have a section where I'll write notes in, right? So like, let's say buy-ins 1,000, I color up for let's say I have a great session, right? I call it up for 2,000 or whatever it may be, right? I might write a note in there saying like, oh, ATS was hit or something like that, right? And that helps me to kind of figure out where the money came from or something along those lines, right? So I'll write notes in there, or I'll write, super grindy session, decided to make this switch, and boom, that's when I really, started making money. Those are things that I'll write in my notes section. I also do keep track of the time played. Now, it's not like, again, I didn't play for 37 minutes, right? Like, I'll round to the nearest time point. So, like, if I know I bought in the table 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm leaving around, 9:25, I'll put that I played for an hour and a half, right? Something along those lines, just a general kind of time frame of how long I played. The other thing too is if I had a goal, right, which you should always have a goal. So for me, I'll have my goal. Now, my goal does change based on where I'm playing or who I'm playing with, right? So like when I go to a multiplier, my goal is really different than if I'm going to my local, right? If I'm going to my local, I might have 20, 30%, whatever it may be. If I'm going, for something else, then the goal may differ based on kind of the trip that is being made, right? The goal is obviously always to make money, but that percentage number may change based on the circumstances you find yourself in. But super, super simple. You don't have to be like an Excel wizard or anything to do it, right? Like mine's all automated and it looks all pretty and all that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, you really just need some basic Excel. If you don't even want to use Excel and you want to use paper, you could write it down on a piece of paper, right? So what I think is important is where you played, right? I always like to write which casino I played at, how long I played, what my buy-in was, what did I color up for, and then I have another column that totals what either the win or the loss was, right? So it's if I bought in for 1,000 and I colored up with 1,200, it's going to say in the next column that I won $200. It's going to light up green.
Do you also put down what table you were at?
No, usually not. I guess I could. I don't personally. Because for the most part, play a lot on the same tables. So I don't really track the table per se, more just the location. But that could be a good point to start tracking the actual table itself. Because we do play on different tables, obviously, at different casinos. Like in my local, I play on the same table most of the time. But like when we go to Harris, I play on usually one of 3 tables. Go other places, usually play on 1 or 2 tables. So yeah, could definitely track tables.
That makes sense. I mean, my local only has one table. So, yeah, it has one table. But if I go to Maryland Live usually has 3 up to 4 tables going at one time. Now, I haven't played them enough to know like which is harder than another, if one's bouncier than another. Harrah's, I would say there are some less bouncier tables than others, but they're all pretty bouncy. But I do, I would track the table that I'm on if I'm tracking the log in regards to shooting. So one of the tables I know I'll shoot from stick left 2 or 1. Another table I know I should be shooting from end of table. To me, that's important information because I'm going to want to repeat that. If it was successful, I want to repeat that the next time I go to the casino.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I was bringing it up is what if you found out in your sessions that most of your successful sessions were at one particular table in that particular casino?
No, it's actually a really good point. That I should probably start tracking, especially like at Harris, right? Because Harris has 5 tables that are typically open. They have more, but there's typically, well, let's say 3 of the 5 were what you find open on like a weekend. Usually, sometimes a 4th one. I've only seen the 5th one opened a handful of times, but Harris is a unique spot because their tables aren't the same. They're different heights, right? Like, and we talk about this all the time. We're at different heights of the tables. Something like that would be really important. Whereas, like my local, for example, there's 4 tables that are all the same exact height because I've looked. Now, I've never brought a tape measure in there and like measured it super carefully, but by my eyeball test, they're all the same size or same height, right? They're all 12-footer tables too, but they're all the same height and they're not differing. Whereas like Harris, you can clearly see the difference in heights.
Now, are you talking heights or are you talking depth within the tub?
Height from the floor. So rail to the floor. At Harris, all 5 tables are different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, that's what they do, right? That's how they screw the people who play craps the most.
Yes.
Again, we're the only table that they change rules as you play. So, but you're right
Yeah.
about some kind of session log. Um, I've actually only done it twice. I had a booklet, started writing rolls down. It actually saved me once because I had written down dice went off table, and I put a note down, turn bets off, and that's what I did. And the next roll was a 7. And I used that the next time I played. I think this was the Horseshoe in Vegas. Um, I think it was a crapless table that they had.
Okay.
And but that's important information. Where you were, what session was it? Was it nighttime, daytime? Was it crowded, not crowded? What kind of table were you on? What was the length of the table? Where did you shoot from? Did you not shoot at all? It's definitely even information about shooters. Like what if you're going to a local, you're bound to see the same people every single Friday or Saturday night. And if you
Yes.
get to know them over time, you're going to get to know how they shoot, even if they're just random chuckers. Because you may say, okay, well, this guy's a random chucker. Every single time he gets on the table, he hits hard ways. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how, but he does. That's important information you'd want to know for the next time in case that guy's there. Um, and if you don't know who's a local, like who's a regular and who's not, pay attention because they talk to the dealers a lot and the dealers know them by their first name before they even give them their card. They're already talking to them.
Yep.
That's how I, discovered that of like at least 3 people I can think of at the local table um, that I know that are regulars on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Um, I think you also have to have a mindset reset button, Chris.
Yep.
Whether it's a phrase, something you do, some kind of reminder that snaps you out of emotion. Like if you know you're getting, jittery, or you're getting very hot under the collar, you need to have something that tells yourself, like units, not all right, units, not feelings, or slow the game down, slow down. Like just, and we've talked before about if you are the one with the dice and you didn't like the way that they were brought to you, or there was some chaos happening on the other side of the table, put the dice down, walk away about 2 feet from the table, and just reset yourself because everybody around you who's betting with you, we all want you to be successful. So what do you need? Do you need us to just stand still? Like what do you like? You tell us what you need because we'll just do that for you because we want you focused on shooting. Um, so the only final thing I think I have on this topic, Chris, is that if you're going to be thinking about all those things, it would be nice to have it on some kind of card or digital
Hmm.
card, like on your phone. You know, maybe there'll be a full of chips laminated card. I don't know. I'm just saying. We've got the mugs or the mug. We got the whiskey glasses. Maybe we'll have mugs someday. And inside every mug, if we happen to sell them, it'll come with a gambler's toolkit card.
Maybe. Maybe. The merch is yet to come. The merch is yet to come. We have some good ideas for that. I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, no, the toolkit is super, super important, right? I mean, the main thing is you want to be in control, right? You don't want to be in a state of chaos, right? Even if you don't think you are, the casino sometimes can put you in that frame. So you want to be in a state
Oh
of
yeah.
control, right? And you want to be consistent, right? You don't want to let either the excitement overweigh yourself or the despair overweigh you. You just want to be consistent and you want to have almost like a process of how you attack each session in the casino because like Craig said, right, you have your mission and you want to have a successful mission. Now, just saying, a losing session at the casino doesn't necessarily mean it's a failed mission. Okay. Not all missions work out, right? You're not going to win all the time. But if you stick to your goals that you set and you stick to the plan that you had, then, you're setting yourself up for success. It may not be instantaneous or it may not be right in that moment, but for future success and for long term success, it'll definitely be there.
You brought up, and that was a good point. I would also just add, because we were just talking about a session log, and I know that you've done it way more than I have when it comes to, as you're playing. But if people do that and it is a bad session, that's still good information. because that might give you information of why was it bad? Was it bad because of you made a bad decision? You weren't paying attention to your rail and you bet more than you thought you were giving the dealer, or did something happen at the table? Was it a particular shooter that you keep seeing and they do something that just does not agree with your ethics or whatever? Like, that's good information because the next time you play and that person's on the table with you, you'll know I'm not betting on them. Like, that's your decision. That's the disciplined decision you decided to make based on information you got from a bad session. So
Yep.
not all bad sessions are bad in this. Yes, they're bad in the sense you didn't win money, but they're not bad because they do give you information, important information for the next time.
100%. Right. We all say that, you gain wisdom as you grow older, you learn through experiences. So the bad session, while it may have been bad, may have taught you a lot, like Craig said, for your future. And you may be able to make better decisions off that. It may teach you something, and hopefully, add to that toolkit. And Craig, I think one of the most important things in that toolkit, right? It's going to bring us into topic number 2, which is the debrief, right? Or the after action review of what just happened. That should be like one of the pieces of your toolkit as well, is to have a kind of it could be just you alone, it could be with other people, whatever it may be, if you're playing with people, but some sort of reflection on the session. That's also where the log comes into play, right? You can use that as your reflection on the session. So Craig, looking at a debrief or looking at, an after action report on the session, what goes into that for you?
Well, first I'll say an after session for me, if I'm by myself, is the only time I sit at a slot machine. Because a lot of times some slot machines will have table-like construction on their slot machine,
Mhm.
and they'll have a place for you to, put your drink, and you can just sit there and use the space to document, whether it's on your phone or if you actually have a booklet or something that you're using, pen and paper, and to write things down or to write things down on your phone. It's a perfect way because oftentimes you're not being asked to move from the slot machine. There's plenty of slot machines that you can probably find one that nobody's occupying and nobody gives a shit that you're sitting there. They probably think you're playing, but you're using it as a little debrief session for yourself. And that's great. That's a great thing. Now, Chris and I, our favorite post session breakdown debriefs, we like to do it over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. um,
Yes.
and especially if you're with a crew or you're on a trip or you're in a tier multiplier with some friends, it is best to have a breakdown with them because they were probably playing with you at the table. And I've had people tell me, when the dice hit this and you had a bet on that, why did you switch that? Because you lost on the next roll. And, they're just trying to understand my mindset at that time, which it might have been a great thing that I did. They're like, I might try that next time. Or it's like they're pointing something out to you and you're going to have to be humble enough to take the criticism and be like, you know what? That was a dumb decision. I'm going to try to make sure I don't do that next time.
Yep.
But just like you have to have a mission going into your gambler's toolkit, I think you have to decide, what was the mission? Why did I come here as part of your debrief? Did you stick to your original plan if you had a plan? Did the casino noise get to you? Did it, rewrite your objectives for you mid-session? We've both have been in sessions at a craps table where something chaotic happened, whether it was nearby, whether it was on the other end of the table, and it's just kind of like derailed things. But that's that's important information for next time. If something like that happens, or if some scuttlebutt happens, you don't often get to use the word scuttlebutt, but if that happens often in the distance, Chris and I at Harrah's on a craps table, we've heard people causing a fight at I guess a roulette is the closest thing I can think of between the craps table and the cashier's cage or the roulette tables. And
Yep.
we've seen people get into, arguments and have dealers come over and pit bosses and security. And it's like, but is that what caused you to have a bad session? Because to me, that tells me you lost focus but you could have taken a step back. Debriefing, whether it's by yourself or with people has a lot to it. If you have a gambler's kit that's got, 6, 7 rules on it, you can be sure that your debrief breakdown should probably have the same number of questions to ask yourself, including why were you there? Were you there to win? Were you there to socialize? What happened? Did you derail from your original plan? Your bankroll, was it enough? Your buy-in versus your cash out. Was your buy-in enough? Was it too little? Was it too much for what you were playing? If you were playing simple 6 and 8, why the hell did you buy in for 1,500? Were you making $300 bets on the 6 and 8? That's different if you're buying in for 1,500. But if you're only playing an $18 6 and 8, there's no reason to buy in with 1,500. So maybe you think next time while you're debriefing, next time I'm just going to buy in for $400 because I'm only playing the 6 and 8. I really don't want to play anything else, and that's fine. That's you. You do you. Yeah, I think anything else with the buy-in or bankroll would be, was your unit size the right size?
Yep. No, I agree 100%. It's I agree with you too with where you said like we like doing it over food. Like it's nice when you can go take a break, have your little debrief when you're playing with a group over some food. And one, it builds, the camaraderie, more friendship, all that kind of stuff, right? But two, like Craig said, right, somebody can hold you accountable for something, or it just maybe provide a different perspective on kind of what happened. So like in my debrief, right, and when I was thinking about this, I kind of put 10 things together that are a part of my debrief when I'm doing it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I explicitly do all 10 things every single time. And when Craig and I go to breakfast, it's like an interrogation. Like, that's not what I'm saying, right? But 10 things that I kind of focus on for my debrief. So the first one, and some of these overlap with what Craig has already said, so I'm going to kind of just gloss over those. But the first one for me is, they're actually number 1 and 2 go right into the tracker right away, right? Where did I play? What did I play? How long did I play? Win, lose, what was the buy-in? What was the cash out? That's the information that I want, right? That's the hard data, basically, that I can put into the tracker. Other things, too, that sometimes I'll add in my tracker notes are, like, the table conditions. So, like, was it super crowded? What were the limits, right? Sometimes limits can factor into that, but usually not, right? If you're bankrolled properly, the limit really doesn't matter all that much. But those are, like, the first 2 things that I'm thinking about, right? Then this next thing I'm going into is, what the hell did I do on the table, right?
Yeah.
Did I play a strategy? Did I stick to it? Did I deviate from it? Why did I do whatever I did, right? So like Craig said, you come in with a plan. Did I stick to the plan? Did I deviate from the plan? And then if I did deviate, why did I deviate from that plan, right? Then I also think about decisions that I made based on that plan. Was it a good idea? It just didn't work that day, right? Like, for example, I went 110 inside and people were throwing maybe 2 inside numbers, getting me out of the hand, and then boom, 7s were coming. It was working, but the rolls weren't conducive to get me a ton of profit. All right, fine. Or was I doing something completely stupid that just didn't work altogether, right? So that's what I'm looking at for, let's say, the first half of my debrief is the actual data piece of things. What did I do in the play? Did things work? And then the final first half of that would be my emotions, right? Did I ever become emotional? Did I ever think about tilt at all? Right now, I typically don't do that because I've been playing for so long, but did it creep in? Did I get overconfident? Did somebody influence my decisions at the table? Again, rarely happens, but you see some guy betting next to you and you're like, well, shit, if he can do it, I can do it.
Now you make those are some good points, and I have 2 of them that kind of go into what you just said. They kind of blend. But first, I wanted to just make a point off of your 110 inside. If your plan was like 110 inside, 2 hits, and you're out of the hand, and you just kept getting 2 rolls, but you couldn't get out of the hand, that's good information that maybe next time you go in with, okay, I'm going to play a little bit more aggressive, but I'm going to be out of the hand in 1 roll because I kept getting hit with a lot of 2 to 3 to 4 roll max. And I kept getting there, but just not executing beyond that. So if I really want to make money, okay, it might cost me a little bit more aggression as far as bet aggression, but I'm going to get out of it sooner. And if I do, I could collect a little bit of profit and be out of the hand as well. And that's good information to tell yourself and to when you're having your debrief session. I had two things that kind of go hand in hand. One was you were talking about decision quality. Which decisions were disciplined? Were you impulsive? Did you feel rushed? Did your ego take over at the table? You need to identify a decision that you liked and that you want to repeat. And then one you never want to do again. I think I could tell you, Chris, from the last trip, one of the poor decisions I made was playing on the final morning. And I compounded that by losing in the morning craps session and going over to Blackjack, which was probably chasing a loss at the craps table. And those were poor decisions. Chris expected me to come down Thursday morning and just hang out and say bye or just talk to everybody and not play. When he saw me play, it was like seeing a father's disappointment looking at his son. I'll never forget the look that Chris gave me, like, what are you doing here? But that's what we're talking about, this decision quality and table dynamics, like you said, play a big part in the session. How was the table energy? Was it low energy the entire time? What did you do to help out the table energy? Were you making dealer bets? Were you trying to get the table energy up? Were you talking to the people around you? I've been at tables where there's people like, come on, guys, let's get the energy up here. Let's blah blah blah. It's like it's a cold table for a reason. There's like negative energy all over the place. Like I've heard people say this at tables. What did you do to adjust your strategy to whatever was rolling? Because we've talked about that before. Did you do anything to adjust to what was rolling? Did you, if your plan was betting what's rolling and you found out that betting what's rolling kept getting you certain places and then it kept sevening out, that's information that, okay, maybe you don't play every shooter. Maybe you don't play every roll. Maybe you turn your bets off once in a while. Those are all really good tidbits, but you can't do that if you're not breaking down your session app. You can't just play, lose, walk away, and then just come back with, oh, well, I got more money, so and go back to the beginning of this podcast. Let me see how the session goes. No, that's not how you should be gambling.
Yep.
All of these, and I think, Chris, you'd agree that both the first topic and what's in the second topic that we're talking about, all of this requires discipline in some
100%. 100%.
If you don't have discipline, none of this is going to be successful for you anyway.
Exactly. Like without discipline, forget about it. Right. And I know people are probably sitting there, oh, these guys talk about discipline a lot. Yes. But if you don't have the discipline, honestly, like you're doing it for fun or for some rush or whatever it may be, but you can't expect to do this consistently for a long period of time without that discipline. You're going to lose a shit ton of money. I just being honest with you, because we've seen it.
Every session teaches you. Every session teaches you something, good or bad.
Yep.
You want to be there for when greatness happens, but if you spent your time making poor decisions, you're not going to be there when it does happen. And I think part of the, these are good tidbits to have in a debrief session. And yes, putting it down on paper or your phone is going to keep you accountable, because what you should be doing is not just jotting it all down, but then you should be going over it again when you go back to your practice rig. And you're like, okay, I'm going to redo this. Okay, I got all the rolls. I got the buy-in that I had. I'm going to redo this, but I'm going to be more disciplined this time and, with the rolls. Obviously some people will say, well, you can't use rolls you already know about to where you're going to bet. You can if you're trying to correct yourself on something about the next time you see it happen. That's my point. The next time I see a sequence that's like this, and I'll give a perfect example. We've all seen multiple sequences, Chris, of 4, 6, 12, 10, 2, 3, 5. Like it's all over the place. You can't get anything consistent. You can't get a repeater. But that's information that the next time maybe you don't go so aggressive when a number hits. Just bet the minimum. And if it happens to hit again, okay, then make a decision maybe to your bet progression is going to go higher. But if you're constantly seeing rolls, either don't go to those casinos anymore or don't hang out with those particular shooters who keep doing that. We've also said this, Chris. How many times have you seen, and this is no disrespect to women, how many times have you seen a woman walk up who's never played the game before, and the first thing you do is turn to everybody on our side, and you're like, play the ATS. Because more than not, a woman walking up who says she's never played the game before, who's random rolling, a lot of times hits pieces of the ATS or all of it. I've seen it. Yeah. And of course, I wasn't on it because I didn't know at the time, but now I know. Yeah. But again, it's because I'm discussing this with Chris at breakfast, or I'm discussing this with him or other players at lunch, and we're going over what just happened. And we also try to help each other with, hey, next time you see that happen, I saw that you had 66 inside and you took it down after one roll. Why don't you leave it up for 2 more rolls? Try to get 2 hits out of it and blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of information that we're going to be sharing amongst each of us because we all want to be successful. We all want the best for everybody in our group to be successful at the table. That doesn't happen if you're not sharing information. Nothing's going to change what happened. You can only help change the next time. Your decision making.
Spot on. That is spot on. Just a couple quick things too that I also focus on in the debrief is like key moments and maybe turning points in the session, right? So was there a big roll or was there a streak like we've talked about where you had 4 or 5 PSOs in a row, right? Something like that. Was there a missed opportunity that I had where I decided I'm not going to press or I'm not going to do something? Why didn't I do it? Right? Was there a big mistake that I made that cost me? Right? They happen. So off the mistakes, right? I always like to look at what was the mistake. So was it something over betting? Was it ignoring one of my own rules? Was it playing too long? Whatever it may be. But like we said, those are things that you can improve upon and focus on, right? To get better in for future sessions at the casino. The other thing that's important to go also over is what worked well, right? Like, did you leave when you were supposed to, right? Were you betting according to your bankroll with smart bets? Did you pick the right table, right? Did you have, somebody with you who was, playing well? Or did you play, a strategy that very, very well that you could play in your sleep? Like, what went well during that session? Because you want to highlight those things because they don't need to necessarily be fixed, right? You saw something that triggered, I got to leave this table. Boom, you left the table. That's good. Got to remember those good things that you did, right? And then the final thing with that would be looking back at the session, right? What do you need to adjust? Do you need to tweak how you played? Do you need to tweak your bankroll, right? Craig already went over a couple of these things. Do you need to add new rules in for yourself, right? Like those observations you made that Craig was talking about, can you institute something, right? Common one, for example, somebody throws 2 horns in a row. Maybe the 7 followed quickly in a session. Well, maybe now you make yourself a rule that after 2 horns in a row, you turn your bets off, right? Or like Craig said earlier, when he was tracking rolls, dice went off the table, he turned his bets off, right? If you make something like that, then that's a good adjustment to make. Basically, you want to try to fix the things that didn't go quite as well and really highlight those things that did go well to improve upon. But as we said earlier, right, if you're not learning from what you just experienced, you're kind of failing yourself, right? You need to always be learning about what happened, what went well, what went wrong, and what can you do to improve upon that.
Now, you said it beautifully. It's funny how some of these things go hand in hand between the 2 topics because, one is preparing you, but then also keeping you focused during. And then the other one is a debrief session, looking back at what happened and asking yourself, did you adjust? How were you impacted? Did you make the right decisions this time? trust us, if you do a debrief session with yourself or with some others, and there were some things that really happened that got you excited that you love doing, or maybe you just if you made a decision, but it was a thought out decision while somebody was shooting, it wasn't on the fly emotion. On the fly emotion just doesn't mix well.
Yep.
It's like beer and liquor, like they don't mix well. Okay. Especially if you have beer beforehand. Okay. Same thing at the craps table or blackjack. If you know what you're doing when you're going in and something happens and it didn't go your way, it does not mean rail dump on your next decision, because it's not going to help you out. You're not going to walk away full of chips. You're going to walk away with zero in your pockets, and it sucks. I may have emphasized the word sucks because maybe I've been through that a couple of times, and it does suck. But all of this, like Chris and I have said, all of this, if you don't have discipline, man, and unfortunately, I thought I learned, still don't have that one piece that makes me stop what I'm doing and either walk away, or if I'm up, decide, okay, that's the night. That's the night. I don't need to stick around. Still learning that, unfortunately.
We'll get it into your head. We'll get it into your head.
I think
But
so.
I know what
It
you
takes
do
a
know
while.
very well, Craig. I
I
know
do
what you
know
know
well.
very well. You know the top five.
Top
Yes, the
five.
top five. Our top five today is the top five things the casino does to keep you trapped, in air quotes, there. It's a good one. It's a good one, Craig. I can't wait to see if we have overlap on this one, because I would assume we do. But kick us off, Craig. Number five. What's the number five reason that the casino keeps you trapped?
I'm going to say my number five, but first I just want to say, so this came about because I had just gotten to Harrah's on Tuesday morning. And as I'm walking through, the first thing that hits you when you hit the casino in Harrah's is there's this candy smell. I can't explain it. And maybe they pump it through the ventilation system or something, but I texted Chris and I said, I have an idea for a top five. And it's the things that keep you in a casino. So my number five is they turn the floor into some psychological funhouse. Nothing is straight, nothing is obvious. The patterns on the carpet are fucking chaotic, and they're like the maze from The Shining. Like it's on there for on purpose to keep you disoriented.
Yep. That's a great one. That's a great one. You probably hear something similar later from me. My number five is so my number five kind of doesn't really follow the rules on this one, but it does, because it's DGen and I don't follow the rules anyway. But so my number five is the perks they give you, right? The drinks, the meals, the comps, free play, whatever it may be, right? A lot of that is to lure you into the casino. But once you get there, keep giving you a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you're playing to earn more. So it keeps you there. Why? Well, oh, I have this, free bet coupon. Well, now I got to go play at the table because I got to use this free bet coupon, because shout out Harris, they don't let us use it for food anymore, right? But they do things to kind of keep you there after they lure you in. So that's my number five.
Yeah, we're gonna have some overlap. All right, my number four. They engineer the perfect environment. Temperature, perfect. Lighting, flattering. Noise, a constant figurative hum of someone else's winning. Do you want to win? Come see what it's all about. It's not comfort, it's controlled stimulation designed to keep you alert, relaxed, and spending your money.
Yep. That is spot on. My number four is they take away the money aspect of things and make it almost not feel real. What do I mean by that? Well, you're not actually playing with money all the time. You're playing with chips,
Right.
right? So it doesn't necessarily feel like you're spending money, because you're not putting cash down for every single bet, right? You're just throwing chips that, yes, you did buy with cash, but you're using chips everywhere, right? And a lot of us, we buy in for a session and then we keep the chips on us, right? I don't always go to the cage to color up my chips, so I just have basically fun money, almost, as some people would call it, sitting in my pocket because it's chips. It doesn't actually have that money aspect behind it, where if I go to the cage and I actually color it up for cash, then I have the cash, right? Same thing with slot machines, the electronic games, all that kind of stuff. It's digital credit, right? You get a ticket. You don't get cash spit back out, you get a ticket. What does all that do? Makes you want to keep playing, right? Because then you have to go to the cage to cash it out. Well, if I'm at the casino for a couple days, why would I go cash it out when I know I'm going to be playing again? I can just use the chips again, or I can use that voucher again, right? So the cash piece of it that they remove is you don't think as much about the value when you have the voucher or the chip.
You know, if you went upstairs and got my wallet, in my wallet is a $2.27 ticket from Harris that I never cashed.
There you go.
But it's true. They spit out the ticket because why? They want you to put the ticket back in.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, but you're right. You know, if you actually were to think about it, right? Let's say you never gambled before, right? So you got $500 and you're looking at $500 in your hand. You're like, God, that's a lot of money. Like $500 is a lot of money. But when they hand you a stack of red chips and a stack of green chips, you're right. It becomes something different. It doesn't feel like money anymore. It feels like I have a count of 20 red and 20 green. And you're like, it's so easy to just flip over a quarter when really you mean to flip over a green chip. And it's like, yeah, but we value those green chips a lot. Like we want to see our rails filled with the green chips, you know, so we're hesitant to actually put it out there. We'd rather put out the red chips because they're less of a monetary value. But if you think about $500 in your hand and chips in your hand, because I'll tell you this, 500, when they give you the stack of green, that stack of green is small.
Mm-hmm.
And so you try to value it more in your rail, right? But that stack of red, that's pretty high. You're like, I can lose a couple of that. Think about that. I can lose a couple of that. Okay, you're talking about $25. Like $25 can get me some, well, it can't get me much these days, but back in the day, it could get you a lot more.
It could.
But it was only 5 chips, 5 red chips.
Only 5 chips. So yep.
Oh my God. So
number
this is
3.
where we overlap here. So my number 3 is they reward you for your time, not your skill. Free drinks, comps, tier credits. You're not being rewarded for winning. You're being rewarded for staying at the casino. The longer you're there, the more the casino loves you, and the more your bankroll quietly dissolves into thin air.
There you go. Well, it's funny. Your number 3 was my number 5. Your number 5 is my number 3. The casino is a hall of mirrors. Don't know which way to go. It's just a crazy concoction of flashing lights, colorful objects everywhere. Where's the door? You have not a clue. Why? They want to keep you in there, keep you walking around and playing in their casino and hopefully losing your money to them. A lot of people say, right, there's no right angles in casinos. Why? Well, a right angle means you have to make a conscious decision. Do I want to go right, left, straight, whatever it may be? When the tables are all in a circular form, it's like you're just flowing like a river, right? You just walk around. Oh, I see this. I see that. It's all part of their design, right? It's not because they just couldn't, figure out how to tile a floor straight. Believe me, if they were tiling a floor straight, the tile people would love it because it's a lot easier to tile a floor straight than it is to curve it and do all this other weird shit with it, right? It's to keep you there and keep you playing or get you to play a game that you may not play because you have to go walk by something when you're on your way or you get lost.
Well, you talked about it before with the slot machines are so fucking high, you can't see above them. And if you can't see above them, you can't see what's in the distance.
Yep.
I think you've said before, there are 2 things you look for as soon as you walk through the casino doors. Where's the sports betting section and where's the cashier cage? And if I know where those 2 things, now I have 2 focal points and 2 location points that I can go to. Great number 3. My number 2, they blur your sense of time. There are no clocks, no windows, no cues. Your body thinks it's 9 p.m. Your phone says it's 2:47 a.m. And the casino says, "Who cares? Roll the dice." In the last episode, I think it was, or the AC one, but the one that's airing this week, the AC trip report. We talked about that. I looked down at my clock and my watch, and I said, "Clay, you know it's after 8 o'clock p.m." I said, "The last time I looked at my watch, it was just 2 o'clock. Like 6 hours had gone by. Couldn't have told. I couldn't tell you what time it was if you had asked me. I would have said it's only like, I don't know, 4 o'clock. No, 6 hours passed because you're playing a game and you're in it to win it. Now, but it's so. You're right. It's so disorienting sometimes to look down or look up. And it's like, if I look down, I have a wacky pattern to look at. If I look up, I've got all these blinking lights and noises and stuff flashing in my face. So it's like you have to have those focal points. So like you said, like the sports betting and cashier's cage, and maybe the bathroom. Those are the only three things that you should make yourself aware of when you walk through the door.
Yep.
And probably your
You're
exit or
spot
your
on.
entrance into the casino is probably the only chance you get to see things in the distance that are far enough away. Because once you're on the floor and in the floor, you can't see above 6 feet.
Nope. Well, Craig, I loved your number 2 so much. Should just skip mine. Should just skip my number 2 because
they need to know.
number 2 is you exist in a vortex of time. Doesn't exist? Who knows? Can you tell what time it is? Only by looking at your phone or your watch. Why? Like Craig said, there's no clocks. Can't see a damn window. You have no clue what time of day it is by looking outside. The lights in the casino and the lights around the casino, they're the same at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It don't matter. The lights are exactly the same. They don't change them. Why? Because then you lose track of your precious time. So my number 2, and again, I'm not going to repeat everything Craig said because I have half that stuff written. Yeah, no concept of time in the casino, and that is in their favor because if you knew what time it was, you may want to actually leave.
You know, it's funny. You may know what time it is if you can follow your hunger pangs. Like, when you're hungry, you're like, I'm usually hungry around 3 o'clock, and it's probably around 3 o'clock.
Yep.
That's your only indication, though.
All right, Craig, number 1.
All right. My number 1 of the way they keep you trapped at the casino is they make losing feel like almost winning. The most powerful trap of all. Near misses, one-off rolls, you were right there moments. And you'll see dealers do this at either roulette or crap. They're like, you were almost there. Like, no, you still lost. Your brain gets that dopamine from your failure, and the casino knows it. So you're not trapped by the building. You're trapped by the illusion of being so close.
They say close only counts in what, horseshoes and hand grenades? Craig, we were so close to being 5 for 5 on this list, but I guess four out of 4 same will do. My number 1 is the illusion of winning. Those near misses, those small wins. You feel like you're always so close to that big win, and that one time it will come. How long will that take? Well, you'll find out the hard way. But there's constant payouts going, right? Every game you play, there's a payout happening all the time, right? So you may be losing, but you're still getting paid every once in a while, so you think you're winning, right? You spin that slot machine, you win back half your slot pull. Oh, you're getting paid, you think you're winning. No, you actually lost half that slot pull, right? On the craps table, you hit one number, great, you get paid, bang, 7, you lose everything else that's out there. The casino is built on constant payments to you, but more payments coming from you. So hopefully you can end those sessions up more, but the casino will keep you there because they're going to keep paying you. And hopefully that illusion of them paying you doesn't cloud the fact that you may not always be winning.
I think the biggest illusion when you have chips is when you do a check change. Why? Because they're giving you more chips, even though they're less denomination. They're giving you a higher amount of coins or chips to put in your rail. So you think you're rich again. Like you broke 100, another 100, or put down 100 chip because you needed reds. And now you have 20 red chips versus the 1 black chip. but
Mhm.
I'll take the one black chip every time. But yeah, it makes you think like you have more than you really do in your rail.
Yeah, no, 100%. But it was a good top 5 list. Again, I wasn't surprised by the overlap because we usually think along the same lines with a lot of that stuff. And the casino tries to keep you trapped. But Craig, we've given the folks at home a lot of tips today on the Gambler's Toolkit, the post-session debrief. But what is our tip of the episode?
It's interesting you say that and bring that up now because I do think that there's a lot of nuggets in this episode, and it's not going to stop here. The tip of the episode is focus when playing craps. Craps moves fast. It really does. If your mind drifts, your bankroll follows. Remember, dice flying, chips clacking, strangers shouting numbers like they're summoning spirits. It's a mixed storm for your senses. And in that storm, the players who lose the most are the ones that who stop paying attention. So focus is your edge, not luck, not superstition, not feeling the roll. When you're locked in, you see the table clearly. The rhythm of the shooter, the pace of the roll, the emotional temperature of the table. All of these things factor into your focus. When you lose focus, you start making decisions based on your emotion, based on the vibe of the table, and that's when the casinos got you, and that's when they eat your buy-in. So focus, motherfuckers.
Mic drop. No, it's true. You do have to focus. Playing craps, playing any game you do. But you know what you have to focus on for the folks at home, Craig? You know what they have to focus on? Focus on where to find us.
Yeah, they have to focus on where do we find you?
Where do we find you? Well, email fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. Full-length episodes, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Short-form content, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. Join the Patreon. There's some cool things coming. I think I've said that I don't know how many times, but DJ's actually going to lock in and start posting some shit in Patreon because there may be some things coming very, very soon. So I told Craig to keep me honest on posting on Patreon, so I shall actually do that. And for the folks at home, you can keep me honest too. You can tell me, DJ, stop being a lazy piece of shit and start posting in Patreon. I will. I promise. I promise. Craig, take us out on episode 38.
Focus is the cheapest skill and the most profitable one. So focus, you fuckers, and you'll be full of chips.